So 1 month with the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. I've been using it as my daily. I've got my SIM card in. Unfortunately, I missed this on my honeymoon, but have been using it kind of ever since. It is actually very similar to the S23 like Ultra if you take a quick glance. The big telltale sign is the titanium build around the outside. Obviously very similar to what we've seen on the iPhone. Very similar colors. I will say the gray is slightly warmer on the Samsung, and my favorite one was the purple one, which had the two-tone with like the silver cutouts for the camera rings. Obviously that video is completely separate. The other big telltale sign is the display. So if you are a big display nerd, if you like to geek out around displays, this is probably one of the best that I've used. So it is now completely flat. We've gotten rid of the curved edges, which was always something that I hated about Samsung flagship phones before. It was nicer to scroll, but there's just something so nice about a flat display. And you also get the benefit of having the ability to put a screen protector on easily. These are the ones that I've been using from Pitaka. Super simple to install. And also if you're looking for a case, I've been using their slim case as well. It's made out of aramid fibers, which you can see the weave on the back. And one thing that this actually gives the Samsung phone is the ability to have MagSafe, as it has a kind of magnet built in on the circle on the back. Unlike the iPhone, which I'm very used to using a lot of MagSafe accessories, for some reason Samsung still cannot implement that into the back. Whether that interferes with the S Pen, that's something to look up, I guess, on your own, or if you are into teardown devices. But using this case does give you that option, so that is kind of super handy. The next thing about the display, other than it being flat, is the overall brightness. It's 2600 nits. It's the best screen right now on a smartphone. Great for viewing outside, all viewing angles, and it has this anti-reflective coating built into the Gorilla Glass. So when you compare this against, say, the S23 Ultra, even the latest iPhone, it reflects light so much better. And once again, every single viewing angle that you're looking at this phone, I think the content looks great. But I think my favorite feature of this phone, screen aside, is probably the longevity of this. And that's something that people don't really touch on initially. So this is now 7 years enabled with updates, and that's up from 4 years from the S23 Ultra. That means you will still get updates for this phone in 2030. And with the way kind of smartphones tech is evolving year by year, I feel like the reason to upgrade has become less and less. People hold on to their phones for longer. So as like a consumer, as a buyer, you're spending $1,200, $1,300, $1,700 Canadian on this phone. I know it's a lot of money, but in 7 years' time, this phone will still be getting updates. You'll probably still be using it. At least that refresh cycle will kind of grow longer. And I think just as someone who's buying that, spending that money, I think you'll be a lot happier with your purchase. So super props to Samsung for that. I think that's honestly one of the best things about this device. I know that all of the AI stuff was heavily focused on. I think some of it is kind of hit or miss, very situational. I will say the circle to search using Google is probably the best feature of that. Literally anything on your screen is fair game to search, whether you're scrolling through, say, like Instagram, you're searching at someone's shoes, you want to see what they're wearing, you can do that. That includes photos that weren't taken on the phone. I took this with my Sony in New Zealand. I'm circling to search where this is. And in 2 seconds, that gives me a live update where this was in Milford Sound. I can book tickets, I can see more info about it. All that is done through Google. Once again, instantaneous. I think this one is probably the best AI feature. That's obviously rolling out to new Google phones as well, like the Pixel 8. Stuff like live translation. Once again, very situational. I'm actually heading to France this summer for the Olympics, and my French is abysmal. I can call someone that speaks French, and that can get live translated in real time, and that actually works as an interpreter, as a separate app. So once I'm there, I can kind of use that, and I can also use that offline. I can have that downloaded, so I don't even need to be connected to the internet, which I think is really cool. There's also a ton of AI features built into the camera software as well. So something as simple as adding a blurred out background. So I just took a couple selfies here, just hitting that little eye button, hitting the background blur feature, and then I can kind of add or detract how much blur that I want. Once again, the processing is pretty fast, and when I'm happy with the amount of blur, I can hit save, and now I have a blurred out background. And the edge detailing on it, once again, one of the better ones that I've seen. It's really identified my hair here as well. I've got little loops in my hair, and it didn't make that all weird and fuzzy. Once again, better than the iPhone, and I'm pretty impressed with the edge detection on this. Another cool one, which I feel is in most AI things, is generative edit. So within a photo, you can move things from the background, you can delete certain things, kind of like an AI selection tool. You can also select a specific subject within a photo. So for example, my car, I can choose to make this larger, I can make it smaller, and I can move it within the frame, all once again through AI, and that was obviously the buzzword, which I still think very selective. Will I be using that every time for every single one of my photos? Probably not, but it's kind of a nice to have feature. Once again, Google to search or circle to search with Google is by far the most used one for this phone. Moving on to, I guess, the next important thing, which is the camera. So once again, very similar look to last year. We have a very similar camera setup, so 200 megapixel main. And instead of having the 10 times zoom, they've kind of knocked that down to 5 times with a new 50 megapixel sensor. And a lot of people were saying that it's a bit of a downgrade, I guess, in terms of numbers. But I would argue that 5 times is way more of a usable focal range. There's such few times where 10 times optically, I need that kind of image. I can also just zoom in digitally if I need to. And I do like the fact that, once again, they're competing with the iPhone. It kind of has that. And I will say images are sharp. One of the best, smartphones. I will say the biggest upgrade coming to this though is the fact that Samsung is now really working closely with third-party developers like Instagram, like Snapchat. Stuff in camera now looks better when you're uploading to those social media sites, which is one of the big reasons why a lot of people would always carry iPhones. It's just social media quality looks better on this. This is really bridging the gap this year, so I think that's a big plus. I'll also put some sample photos up for you guys to decide which you kind of prefer. I'll also put some samples between this and the iPhone, but I think if you have any phone between this, the iPhone, or even say the Pixel 8, I think you're pretty much winning in terms of smartphone photography. Next, for performance, I feel like you can copy and paste the same thing that I've been saying. It's a flagship phone. If you're getting this, everything that you throw at it will obviously work completely fine. This does have some couple extra features, obviously the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 platform. This does have a 90% larger vapor chamber, so better for gaming. It now has ray tracing, so just little incremental changes that, unless you have this and the S23 or S22 Ultra, you probably won't be able to see too much of a difference. It's just blazingly quick, it's fast, it's a flagship, and if I can get that same performance for the next 7 years, I think most people will be pretty happy. Battery life, 5,000 milliamps, so if you're rocking 6.5 to 7 hours as an Ultra user, as someone on it all day, it should be able to last. You can even push this close to 2 days without charging it. All in all, it is a beast of a phone. Will you use the S Pen? I know that they've kind of RIP'd the Note. Maybe once again, on that rare occasion, similar to AI, very situational, maybe signing off on my documents, maybe taking the occasional selfie using this as like the remote trigger. That's kind of the S24 Ultra in a nutshell. If you are someone that has to buy a phone right now, if you have to spend $1,300, $1,700 Canadian, this would be the phone that I would recommend just because of that 7 years. I feel like a broken record, kind of repeating myself. It's the best Android flagship. Solid camera, solid build, great screen, super happy that it's flat. Are there a lot of things that it's copying, from the iPhone? Yes, that isn't technically a bad thing. And I'm sure a lot of those, I guess, like Google features, AI features, you'll see coming to other phones as well, but great to actually see them implemented and usable. Google search or circle to search, super dope. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments if you are planning to pick one up or if you've already grabbed one in the past month, and I will catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace.